And we begin with the story that Parliament will this afternoon vote on whether to accept President Kenyatta's proposal to remove the cap on loan interest rates, which would in effect set the stage for more expensive loans in the private sector. And ahead of the vote, the CFA Society East Africa has organized a debate on the rate cap law. Is it good or bad for you? Well, Dennis Otieno is attending that specific debate here in Nairobi. Let's listen in to that conversation.
Predatory lending is wrong, and actually it's something that my view is that Parliament should put a little bit more pressure on the central bank to look at, because there are, you see cases in court even in the last few years where somebody goes and actually banks deliberately miscalculated interest and actually penalties, and have used those penalties to punish people. Especially when you want to switch one loan from one side, you find a different loan and you're trying to close it so that you can arbitrage. Banks do that with each other through the overnight lending, but they don't want a customer who finds a cheaper loan to do it. So that's something to be watched out for. And I think it's something that can be settled very easily through law and through the central bank. But coming down to the public debt, someone's asking whether we are at the tipping point. I don't know. And usually I don't like to be a person who points to the fact that, well, we are in crisis and therefore we are in trouble. But let me just tell you some of the things that I think government can do. It's a good thing that the government itself and the Cabinet Secretary for Finance has admitted that we now have a debt problem. In fact, my view is that the raising of the debt ceiling is too much English for saying, look, guys, we are in too much trouble. We need to give a space so that we can borrow more and arbitrage that debt, which is okay. So that's fine. A little more honesty would have been required, but it didn't come. So what should the government of Kenya do? This is the thing what the government of Kenya can do. I think we can't spend more than we have so far. Our deficit is already too high. So what should the government do? I would advise that the government cap spending for the next 3 years. So you say, this year we agreed to spend 2.8 trillion. It is going to remain at 2.8 trillion for the next 3 years. And then let the 6% growth that we're expecting buy us more space. The good thing about capping it is there's not going to be a shock in the sense that you're not going to suddenly withdraw services and everything else. That's first. Second, make savings internally. So for instance, I like to give this example, and I know it sounds bad. So we calculated in the year 2016, the government of Kenya spent 5 billion shillings on fuel, right? Fuel. Now, if you spend 5 billion shillings on fuel, it means you're spending something like 100 million, close to 10 million a day. 10 million shillings worth of fuel is close to 1 million kilometers. Where are these government vehicles traveling 1 million kilometers to? So that's a first.
So before you come back to that, because I want to not get government. It's rare that I have honorable sitting with me.
Why don't you let me just close it?
You want to close? Okay, close. Okay.
So that's a first. The second point is, in the place where I work, we've done numbers over the last 12 years. In the last 12 years, our phone bills, in real terms and nominal terms, as students of finance should understand, have actually fallen by half. Okay? Fallen by half. The cost of a call per minute over the last 12 years in the IE has fallen by half. The government of Kenya's communications costs in that time has gone up by 150%. So my view is that there is scope for saving money without necessarily hurting somebody or cutting. You can actually save. And our assessment has been this. The numbers are available. You can look at it. The government of Kenya can save 440 billion shillings from last year's budget without sending anybody home or doing anything that they could not do last year. Look, I'm not even mentioning about those dams that didn't exist. I'm just talking about savings, like one by one. So we can make those savings, use those savings to redeem debt or to pay for the other development expenditure that we need, and actually just cap it there. And growth will buy that for us, because you can never spend yourself to prosperity from loans. Thanks.
Okay, I want to pick that question on spending. Bonakuria, Parliament has failed to check itself, to check on the executive as well as itself. There is a lot of extravagance, wastage, and leakages in the public sector. Focus should shift to containing government spending, enhancing fiscal discipline, and not increasing the debt ceiling. What would your views be? I want to hear from Kuria, then I'll hear from Mr. Jomo.
I think Jomo and myself are members of the Budget Committee, and personally I have taken that road of admitting that as Parliament we have failed, and mea culpa. as a member of parliament and as a member of the budget committee, we have failed Kenyans. We have failed Kenyans because every year, and I've been a member of that committee since 2014, we have sold to Kenyans this romantic story that all is well. And because we believed in respecting the executive, and most of us are also members of the ruling party, so it is messy. I want to say that, I want to say that we have lied to Kenyans, first of all. And second thing is that we have failed in our oversight responsibility. The reason we are in this hole is because as parliament, we could have said no, but we said yes. So on behalf of parliament, on behalf of the budget committee, on behalf of Jude Jomo, I want to offer my unqualified apology to the people of this nation, because as the people they trusted on the ballot, we have failed them by telling them lies that all is well. And I want to say, because, you know, being apologetic is one thing, and, you know, penance, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Roman Catholic, for that is another thing. So paying for that is another thing. But I want to do my penance by saying that we are doing badly as an economy. Okay. Now, since I've offered on behalf of the legislature, I want people who have been in the executive to do the same and offer their apology. But ours is an era of omission. Theirs is an era of commission. Because for 7 years, we've cheated this country about even our deficit. We have cooked books. We have cheated people that we do zero-based budgeting. We have taken loans at 9%, commercial loans, and left people who are offering us money at 1%, multilateral concessional loans. And that for me is treason. It's nothing but treason. And I want my good friend, Mr. Otich and Mr. Duge, to look at Kenyans in the eye and say they have committed treason for 7 years. Because we have got people like World Bank here. They have offered loans for 1%. But because World Bank, ADB, and the other multilateral lenders have no opportunity for kickbacks, we have refused their money and gone for 9% and 10% money. Just tell me whether for sure those people will not burn in hell. Okay. Yeah? We have reduced, Kibaki left us with an average tenure of 10 years money. We have dropped that to 4%, meaning we have lost all our concessionality. Tell me, even you as an individual, if somebody offers you a loan for 20 years, another offers you a loan for 10 years, another offers you a loan for 4 years, which one will you take? Even for common sense. Yet, you look at our books, you look at our loan book, you look at our debt register, we have dropped from concessional loans to commercial loans, from long-term loans to short-term loans. You know, and it's because we have refused loans from World Bank, ADB, and the people who will be asking us questions. And it is a conspiracy. Okay. It is a conspiracy between Treasury and MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies, whereby they tell you, you take the expensive money because they don't ask questions. Don't take the concessional one because they will be so nisumbua. Yeah? So, all these World Bank and ADBs and all these people, they are sumbuas. So we have done that. The third thing is we have put money in parastatus, in ministry, idle cash, and then we put that money in commercial banks. Then we are going to commercial banks to borrow our own money. Just from the time Uhuru Yatani came to Treasury, we have recovered 70 billion shillings. Money that is for Communication Authority of Kenya, sitting idle in banks. Kenya Airport Authority, sitting idle in banks. Yet we come and borrow this same money, and we say the government is over borrowing from domestic. It's a fraud. I can go on and on, but because me, I found my way on my road to Damascus,
All right.
I want to ask the other people, please,
Jomo.
let's repent and go on the right path and tell people that we have been lying to them. As Parliament, we have been lying to them, and people in the executive have been stealing from them.
All right, Jomo, I'm going to try and wind this